Hello and welcome to Let's Review. Anyone who works as a critic or reviewer will at some point in their life have heard the phrase, well, if you know so much, why don't you go and make one? This is true of film critics, and this is very true of game critics. Personally, I haven't yet tried to make a game, but former PC gamer writer Tom Francis has. And that game is Gunpoint. And is it any good? Well, let's start as we always do, with the gameplay. Gunpoint is a stealth puzzle game that, somewhat ironically, features almost no armed combat. Instead, it's about breaking into buildings and stealing data from hacking computers. And as such, it includes a number of upgrades, which are accessed through a fairly basic upgrade system.
This is one of Gunpoint's 2 upgrade screens. This one allows you to pick the various upgrades that give you additional options within the mission. So for example, the crosslink is the device you use to connect things to each other, which is the most basic thing and it's required to get early on, as is the wire jack. But there are additional things you can get, so for example the drop shot, which allows you to land silently from any height, which is extremely useful, the chance for incoming shots to miss, and so on. In addition, you can also try out a lot of these prior to actually buying them by clicking that, which will take you to a little tutorial that will teach you how to use it. It's also worth noting that some of these upgrades require batteries, so at the bottom we can buy or sell batteries. Now these are all pretty reasonably priced, however the last one, the Gatecrasher, is extremely overpowered deliberately, and as a result you can't actually afford to get it until the final mission. It's also worth noting that if I want, I can return it for the full cost that it cost to buy it originally, which is extremely useful as it lets you swap around your upgrades quite handily. It's also worth noting that you have additional upgrades here, and you'll earn an upgrade point after each mission. So one of these tracks allows you to increase the strength of your jump, which naturally allows you to jump higher, reduce the charge time, which means that you can jump quicker, and the power capacity for the items that require it. So if I upgrade that, I can now buy 2 batteries rather than just 1. And I'm now fully charged on batteries. And that really is it for Gunpoint's upgrade system.
There is nothing terribly complicated about this upgrade system, but it works very well for what it wants to be, and I cannot overstate the usefulness of being able to fully refund an upgrade you decide you don't like. Naturally, of course, all of these upgrades play into the actual gameplay and puzzle-solving mechanics of the main body of the game.
This is a fairly standard mission in Gunpoint. It's fairly late game, so as a result I have a lot of upgrades unlocked. But this is effectively Gunpoint's big thing, the crosslink mode. From here I can connect any object that is coloured the same. So I can connect red objects to red things. So this is a motion detector. It'll activate whenever someone goes through it. At the moment it's not connected to anything. If I connect it to this door down here, then as soon as the guard walks through, this door will open. Et voila. If I want into this building, I will have to open this door, which I'm not going to do yet because as soon as he sees me, he will shoot me. Oops. Didn't actually mean to do that, but that's actually very handy. You can knock guards out with doors. It's a useful trick. So I'm now inside this building. If I'd attempted to climb up, I would have been immediately shot by that guard. There's no way around that. Now, in order to access various other things, you will need to access control boxes like this. So this is blue objects. So once I've done that, I can then link any blue object to another blue object. There's a green over here, and a yellow over here. Now my objective for this mission is to acquire these 2 cases here. Sometimes it's hacking a computer, sometimes it can be various other things, but most often it's about hacking a computer. So actually stealing a case is a little bit different. So I now want to head up, and I can cling to the ceiling to avoid being detected by this guard. If I want, I can bugger up and get killed. If I want, I can jump on top of the guard. From here, there's nothing he can do. So I can... 1 punch will knock him out, and if I keep punching, then they will eventually die. This guy is now dead, as you can tell from the pool of blood around his head. If you keep punching him, you'll actually eventually get an achievement for doing that, but you do get some humorous flavour text at the bottom that basically starts begging you to stop. So, I have now access to the blue stuff, so I can now cross-link the blue objects. So for example, if I want this door, more specifically, I need this door closed, because if I attempt to go over there, that guard will shoot me on sight, which is naturally something I want to avoid. There are 3 varieties of guard, all of whom are visible here. Basic guards, who you can jump on, knock out, do all that stuff to. Enforcers, who can't be pinned, but can be staggered, so as such the best way to take them out is usually to knock them through a window. And agents, or professionals I should say, who can see in the dark and are capable of shooting you even at gunpoint, which is this. The gun is an unlockable, and because it's quite powerful, i.e. it kills people, you then get the 30-second timer. Once that elapses, the police will turn up with a sharpshooter who will sit around over here on this far edge of the map by the exit subway station. Now, he won't always kill you instantly, but he is incredibly difficult to deal with, so it's usually a good idea not to use the gun unless you absolutely have to. You can cross-link multiple things to another, so I've cross-linked that door to that door, so that camera triggered that door and that door triggered that. Which means that door is now shut, so I can safely fall into that camera. You don't actually get punished for falling into cameras, unless you're specifically using them to do something like, well, I often am. It's also worth noting that a good way to get guards to patrol is actually to take out the lights. So if I link that to there, and then do that, that disables the lights in there, which means that guard will start patrolling. This is useful because it actually allows me to get inside. And I'm now just going to quickly demonstrate the most overpowered ability in the game, door kicking down. I'll wait for him to get closer, because what that does is that just knocks him flat on his back. It's extremely useful, and it's very overpowered, which is why you can only unlock it at the end of the game. Once you've actually completed a mission, which I won't bother showing you, all you have to do is exit, either through the subway terminal, or if you're like me, you can just throw yourself off the edge of the map. And fundamentally, that's the basics of Gunpoint's gameplay. There's a lot of different upgrades and abilities you can get. For example, actually I should really demonstrate the gun, so I will fire it randomly at something. There. So I've killed that guard. There are also optional laptops to hack. So we now have 20 seconds until the police sniper shows up, so I'll perch up here until he does. But that is naturally meant to be very much a ticking clock, something that you want to avoid. Because it is certainly possible to complete levels with the police sniper still there, but naturally it gets a heck of a lot harder. And there he is. Kills instantly from any range, you may well be boned. So, for example, if I try and escape, he shoots me right out the air. It also stops auto-saving after you use the gun, on purpose, because it knows that with the police sniper coming, you could be in serious trouble. And that, fundamentally, is the gameplay of Gunpoint.
The gameplay works. While it starts off very simple, it builds up layers of complexity, and that's genuinely an excellent thing for a puzzle game to do. Start off easy, get more complicated as you go on. And it's also worth noting that while Gunpoint is pretty short, it does include Steam Workshop support. And as a result, the fans of this game have created quite a number of really good and interesting levels. Admittedly, as well as a few that are less than stellar, but, well, that's what you always get when you throw up gates like this to the public. It adds life to an admittedly short game, but overall, I'm happy to say that the gameplay of Gunpoint is pretty damn solid. It works very well for what it wants to be, it's an excellent basis for creating some puzzles, and while it certainly has problems, most notably the fact that the guards are accurate to the point of ridiculousness when they spot you, it is enjoyable and fun to play. And at the end of the day, that's all you can really want. Does the story hold up to the same standard, though? Well, Gunpoint's story follows Richard Conway, a freelance spy who ends up embroiled in a case involving a murder and a pair of rival corporations. And I'll be honest right from the start, Gunpoint's plot is okay. It's nothing exceptional, but it works as a solid framework. The thing I really like about the story, however, is its humour. Gunpoint's wit is very dry, and I really like it.
Well, humour can be rather subjective.
Oh, granted, I would never try to argue that point. Gunpoint's supporting cast is pretty decent for the most part. They mostly just work as quest givers, if I'm honest, but there is a little bit of decent backplay between them and the main star. But the sarcastic star of the game is, of course, Conway himself, and he works really well as a main character, combining a sharp wit with the ability to be a complete and utter dumbass in a way that's just really endearing. It's also worth noting that you really do get to define his moral compass for yourself. Is he just out for himself? Is he a psychotic killer? Well, that's up to you.
Well, given the way that most gamers choose to play.
Hey, I always try to play non-lethal.
And yet you have the achievement for not only punching a man to death, but continuing to punch his decaying body until the game itself begs you to stop.
Well, I said try. Honestly, the problem with Gunpoint's story is because of its relative shortness, there's not that much I can talk about without giving away significant spoilers, which obviously I don't want to do. Honestly, I will happily say that I would have preferred it if it was a little longer. But with that said, I can't say there's anything about it in its current iteration that I really dislike. I think the best way that I can honestly describe it is simple. It is short, but sweet. Gunpoint's graphics are very simple. This is not exactly uncommon in games with small development teams, and frankly, I personally don't think it's that much of an issue, provided that the art team can take advantage of the relative simplicity. Which naturally leads us on to... The art for Gunpoint is very simple, making full use of the highly pixelized graphic style, and in all honesty, it works pretty well. There are some things that I think might have worked a little better if they were in a slightly higher quality, most notably the character portraits during the conversations. But in all honesty, I think they were kept very simple to match the in-game models, and I don't have a problem with those. As a result, I think I can safely say I like the art style for this game. It takes good advantage of the simple graphics, and it works very well for what it wants to be. Overall, it's pretty solid. The music for Gunpoint is pretty good, but in all honesty, it's not terribly memorable. It's certainly not a soundtrack I would go out and buy. That's not necessarily a bad thing, and it does honestly work pretty well for what it is, but it's, again, not something I would go out of my way to look for or listen to. The sound effects are okay. Most of them work pretty well, though I will be honest, the gunshots really could do with a bit more. But for the most part, they do work, and I can't really fault them there. There is no voice acting in this game either, but again, that's not exactly uncommon for small indie projects, so I can't really pull them up on that at all. Overall, the sound's pretty good overall. So, did I enjoy Gunpoint? Yes, I did. Should you buy it? Gunpoint is very much a short but sweet experience, and I will be honest, if it was priced any higher, I would definitely have qualms about recommending it. However, given that it is priced at £6, I think that's pretty reasonable, and frankly, I do think it's genuinely worth your time. Gunpoint is an excellent little stealth puzzle adventure game, and it's well worth a play given the amount of humour and heart that clearly went into it. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's probably a good time to get back to that visual novel design document I was working on. I'll see you later.